Welcome to another interview with a GoBruncher. I'm your host, Marisa Lowen. I'm excited today to go through these rooms today. Oh, I just noticed. So your name on here is Hermy.
Yes.
Do you want to explain because you definitely registered with a different name, but I want to make sure we use the right name that you want to be using for GoBruncher land. So introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Henry Cameron Allen, and my brand here in GoBrunch is the Virtual Hermit.
Okay.
And the Virtual Hermit has a name. His name is Hermy. So he represents me. I represent him. And that's where Hermy comes from. You can call me Henry Cameron. Just don't call me late for brunch.
Oh gosh, I haven't heard that one for a long time. Don't call you late for GoBrunch is really the thing. So tell us a bit about, give me the whole backstory about the hermit. I want to hear everything.
Well, in Victorian and pre-Victorian times, mostly in England, very, very wealthy people with these huge ornate gardens would hire essentially an actor to come and live in their garden as an ornament, to live as a hermit with full, hermit robes, and you lived in a little hermit hut, and you would garden and you would grow your own food, and you would be there as sort of an ornament in their garden, but also for the purpose of education and entertainment. And so people would come and they would sit with the hermit, and he would share stories or tell, tall tales or jokes or whatever. Or if they were looking for guidance, counseling, wisdom, they could also come into the hermit hut and experience that with the hermit. So I thought, that's my dream job. I would love that lifestyle. And I practically have it. I live in Spain in a very, very ancient village. It was established in 1211, very remote. I mean, there's no traffic here, not even air traffic. I haven't even seen an airplane in the sky in 5 years. I love that. And so somebody was asking me, well, when do you ever go out? Do you ever do anything? I said, well, I'm virtually a hermit. And so that's where the Virtual Hermit moniker sort of was born, out of that conversation and sort of that dreaminess about, oh, wouldn't it be nice to just live a quiet, contemplative life in somebody's beautiful garden and be there for sharing wisdom and counseling and a little entertainment and storytelling. So that's kind of done here at GoBrunch. So it's suitable.
I love that. So your business, then people can hire you to be a hermit in their life.
They can in many ways, shapes and forms.
Okay. Tell me what some of those shapes and forms are.
Well, I am an internationally certified grief and survival counselor and therapist. So I do have clients that are I've migrated all of my work to GoBrunch, by the way, but I have my private practice office here in GoBrunch. And so people can come to my website and book a time with me, and I keep it affordable and accessible. And it's a broad sense of grief. It's not just about outliving someone you love. It's anything that you're experiencing as a loss. It could be change of career. It could be change of geography, moving from your community to a place where you hardly know anybody. It could be grieving your youth. It could be any number of things, a relationship ending, or certainly it could be out of the passing of a loved one. I have a foundation as well called the Lost Travelers Club, and it is specifically for the reimagining of grief and the empowerment of purpose for parents who have outlived our children. We call ourselves peregrines. To date, there's never been a word like widow or orphan for us to turn to.
Right.
And I had a dream, and a peregrine falcon flew down, landed in front of me, and looked up and said, "It's time." And I knew what it meant. And I broke out of my dream state and started researching peregrine. And in ancient Latin, it meant lost traveler. It meant a stranger in a field, also a pilgrim on a sacred journey. And it's native to every continent except Antarctica. So it's universally recognizable as a symbol. And across cultures, it symbolically means strength, resilience, and courage. And that ticked all the boxes. And so I adopted it as our logo and as a name for those of us who have been down that road of outliving our children. And so it's not a support group per se. I mean, that's sort of built into it, but it's more of an empowerment group. How do I move forward on this very unique kind of grief journey? But the work that I do is not limited to peregrines, and I do tend to focus a lot on men's mental health because I think that that's something we're missing still. Not that women's mental health isn't important. Obviously, it's vitally important, and we're struggling with that too.
We can
Uh,
say one without meaning the other is
well,
needed. Yep.
sometimes you have to give a disclaimer, you
I
know.
know. I'm saying it loud and clear. We can say
Right.
one is needed without the other, just in case anyone, wants to. We can do that. Yep.
Yes, and I have clients of all genders, and so I'm very inclusive and welcoming to everyone who is on their grief journey. And so I do that in GoBrunch, and that's sort of my counseling hat as the virtual hermit. I also am a theater artist, career theater artist, and I can boast that the new Folklore theater company is the first theater company in GoBrunch ever, and we have a whole theater complex built
Fantastic.
in ways that I could never do in a brick and mortar theater. We have several stages. We have an educational wing. We have a cinema where we do a weekly Saturday matinee movie club where we explore films as kind of a time machine to take us back and remind us who we are, because our grandparents, our great grandparents struggled with the very same things, even media that we are struggling with today. This is nothing new. And I think that film has this wonderful quality of taking us back in time, not only in societal fashion of the day, but politics, religion, spirituality, and clothing and decor and all of these wonderful things that we can look back and say, oh, wow, well, they survived what they went through, world wars and horrible politics and everything else, oppression and immigration and all those things that we're struggling with. And they survived it. So guess what? We can too. And they may give us some answers of how they survived it by looking back. And so the Saturday Matinee Movie Club is an ongoing film study and discussion. After each film, we have a very wonderful, intelligent conversation about everything from the arts to what we've just seen and how it relates and is relevant to our lives today. It's fantastic. So I'm very proud of that. We are the new Folklore Theater Company is an international organization. We have artists from every corner of the globe, from Papua New Guinea to Pakistan to Italy to Germany and England and the US and Zimbabwe. I mean, Russia, all over the world. And what a gift to be able to find those common threads in our humanity and find ways to weave whole cloth out of those common threads. That's what we're doing, really. And at the same time, we are a rescue mission to preserve and protect the stories that are dying with the people that carry them. Many of us as kids, or even our children today, are learning their own ancestral history and stories. They're not. And how do we know who we are if we don't know where we come from? And so just like cinema provides a sort of a time machine to go back and remember who we are and where we came from, storytelling also has that quality to it. Theater is a living art form. We have done a series. We've started a series called The Lore, which is an ongoing series mostly targeted at young audiences, reimagining these stories. We're working with contemporary playwrights and curating lists of tales that maybe we haven't heard before from other parts of the world. And we're casting them with international actors. The playwrights that we're working with are from or of the cultures that they're writing through, representing. And so it's very exciting work. And we've done public readings of new works that we're developing as well. So there's a live quality and component. And the stages that we have in the new Folklore Theater Company, with the bubbles, you can move from one point to another
Yeah.
very easily.
Yeah.
And if you have actors on the stage and you choreograph it in a way that they can make a cross to the other side of the stage, you can change the backdrops, you can do everything almost that you could do in a live theater, but it broadens your audience exponentially. And that's what we're hoping to do, is to bring people into a cutting edge new way, not only of doing theater, but also of using GoBrunch.
Well, let's go in. Let's see it. Show us some of these rooms that you're telling us about.
All right. Well, what do you want to see first?
You're our tour guide. You show us.
Well, let's start with the Virtual Hermit, since that's
Okay.
where everything begins. And so let me share my screen here. Let me find it. I thought I had it. Okay, here we go.
Perfect.
I am standing in front of the Virtual Hermit Hut.
Okay, let me make it bigger here so everybody
Okay.
can see what we're talking about.
And incidentally, as we're looking at these different spaces, I am also a world builder here in GoBrunch for hire. I know that there are a lot of people who don't want to rely on the templates that GoBrunch provides, or they have limited skill or time or capacity to create these immersive environments like you've created here with the podcast studio and the ones that I've created. And so I'm offering those services as the Virtual Hermit designs
Cool.
to provide either choosing from templates that I've created that can be used universally, or to create customized, bespoke spaces that really reflect you and your work and what you're bringing to the table.
So let's talk about the features here. This is where we start off to go into the hermit house, and just tell me a little bit about what you were thinking about when you were creating this scene.
Well, again, I wanted to harken back to the romantic and whimsical thought of what a hermit is. We've all seen movies and books where the hermit lives in the woods in a little hut, and sort of handmade and rough hewn and sort of magical in a way.
Yep.
So if you look around, you'll see little woodland creatures. I do like to use animations also in my work. And so you'll see smoke coming out of the chimney, and you see up here in the tree there's an animated crow,
Mhm.
uh, friend of mine. I haven't named him yet, so if anybody wants to petition a name for him, you're
Nice.
certainly welcome.
Definitely
And
put it down in the comments if anyone wants to name the crow.
for sure. Here's an owl that represents wisdom. Way up here in the tree is a peregrine, because that's a very big part of who I am. You'll see a red cardinal welcoming you into the hut.
A little bit of
Um,
sparkle happening there at the door too.
a little bit of sparkle. One of the things that I love about GoBrunch is that they give somebody coming in a quick template to use to move from one space to the next. We've
Mhm.
all seen those black navigation buttons,
Yep.
just like you see the one Return to Expo up in
Yeah.
the upper left-hand corner. This is, by the way, the World Building Expo, which happens quarterly, and everybody should attend. It's free, and you'll get to see what so many of us are doing in GoBrunch. And this is my booth in the expo. So if you want to get to the expo, you can come here. If you go to virtualhermit.love.
Okay, so let's talk about that a bit. So
You're
you used yeah, so great. So Virtual Hermit. So you used a URL and you have it pointing directly here. So you were able to map a URL to your GoBrunch space.
That's right. I own the URL. I bought the URL. I've done that for a couple of my spaces,
Yep.
3 of them that we can look at. This was virtualhermit.love. I was so over the moon to hear that .love was possible as an
Yep.
address. So I just redirected that domain to my GoBrunch page. And that makes it easy, because for a lot of newbies, especially trying to understand the difference between a space and a room, why it says an
Mhm.
events, with the numbers after it,
Yeah.
it's not an event, it's a room, right?
Yeah.
And the spaces themselves, the main space is customizable, right? You can do gobrunch.com/virtual hermit hut, I think is
Mhm.
what
Yep.
but the rooms are not customizable yet.
Yep.
I've talked to Richard. I'm petitioning for that to happen, to have that freedom, because some of us, you know, we want this space to be a landing page,
Yeah.
like a lobby or an orientation space, or here, this is the outside of my hut.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sometimes we just wanna
so
get them right into the workroom.
Right, exactly, right, or if you have an event that you just wanna cut time, and they don't want to explore necessarily, they just wanna get to the event,
Yeah.
you can do that. Going back, talking about the navigation buttons, they're great, they're fine. But if it is your landing page and you have a number of other side rooms in from that space, it can take up a lot of real estate in your design. For me, they're a little heavy
And
and a little cumbersome.
have you built these so that they're all like, if you go to all rooms here, can we see all of your rooms from this page, or is this a standalone
No,
page?
it is a standalone page. You can go to all rooms, but all you're gonna see is the inside of the hut.
Okay.
right?
Yep.
So I made the navigation button transparent and laid it on top of that sparkly GIF
Yep.
on the door.
Yep.
So as people get to know me, as they get to know my spaces, whenever they see those sparkles, that's essentially the same as a navigation button. A little magical way to go to a different dimension. I
Okay.
guess
Yeah. We're gonna make
best way to
people
do
stay
it.
curious. I like that.
Now, the other thing that I've done with a number of my spaces, not all of them yet, but as I've been migrating all of my work into GoBrunch, I actually incorporate my website right into the GoBrunch page.
Very cool.
So if you come here and say you don't want to just hang out with Hermy in the hut, but you want to find out about his services,
Yep.
Virtual Hermit Designs, all you do is you scroll down and there's the information about brand integration, custom theming, pricing, all of that stuff. And then here's some sample rooms that are templates I've created that people can essentially rent from me and use them. You could do something if you have just a 1-day event, or if you want an ongoing space that is yours alone, all of these are customizable as spaces that
Cool.
I set up for you. And you can, add your logo and your branding. You see, there's a whole variety of styles and different spaces there. But one of the qualities of my design work is that they all have a bit of whimsy, that you can feel the air in the room almost,
Yeah.
the way the light plays in the space, things like that. One thing that I found during the holidays was a number of people were complaining that their families were spread out and they didn't, they missed them. And this would have been great during COVID, but they wanted a virtual place to have family reunions or friend reunions or
Sure.
holiday parties, right? In the Winter Wonderland space, for instance. And they're fun and they're immersive and it's almost like being there. And that's what I love about GoBrunch is that it does sort of trick your mind and takes you to a different space.
So you did an iframe embed for the website there?
Yeah, I did an iframe embed, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Had AI generate that code for me.
Oh, nice.
I just gave them the website link. And so if you go to the actual website, which now will bring you here, this is what you would see on my website. And it's fully interactive. An iframe is fully interactive. Like if
Yep.
you wanted to send me a message, you click the message, it'll open your email. And
Cool.
oops, there we go. Yeah. So then if you wanted to go into the Hermit Hut, this is what it looks like.
Oh.
Normally, I also have sound effects. I don't embed the sound yet because I haven't found the right tool to allow the viewer to adjust the volume. And most of
Okay.
the embed audio stuff is way too loud. And,
Okay.
rather than having people adjust their volume on their device,
Yeah. Adjust the player sound. Yep.
I'd much rather than be able to adjust the sound. I tend to use Spotify just through my microphone, and that adds atmosphere. You can see there's a Victrola playing music. I often have music playing in the background. And this is a space for co-working. This is a space for storytelling. This is a space for talking, counseling, right? All the
Mhm.
things that a virtual hermit in real life might provide. And it's a space I would love to occupy myself. So, and you see there's your crow again, and there's a white deer and a fox. And I always try to incorporate nature. Now, the other thing that I've done in this space, again, you see no navigation buttons,
Right.
but each one of these icons here, some of the things that you see is a little Easter egg. And if you click it, for instance, and you click that little model of the theater, that'll take you to the theater. The
Nice.
peregrine will take you to the Lost Travelers Club. The crystal ball will take you to my book that I wrote. And, so you have to play with the space. I really love
Yeah.
playing with the space. And this mask up here at the top of the door will take you back outside the hut.
Cool.
Again, you scroll down. I love stacked spaces. And here you can get on my mailing list, right? So if you want to know about events coming up, all that, and stay connected, that's great. I also have a chatbot here. And the reason I have a chatbot here, whose name is Hermy, he's the Hermit Hut Hermy, is because I'm not always in the space. Like right now, I'm doing the podcast with you, so I'm not in the hut. I'm usually there, even if I'm doing other things. Anybody should pop in, I'm there. But if I'm not there, you can have a chat with my Hermit Hut Hermy bot. He
Nice.
knows everything about me, about what I'm doing with my work. He also has a backstory, and he's really great at Yiddish curses. He knows recipe. I mean, he's connected to AI, so you can basically
Do you wanna give us a show? We'll see how it works?
sure.
Slambot that you're using?
No, this was actually built for me by RJ.
Oh, it's Slambot. Okay, yep.
Yeah. So I'll just put in my name, Henry, and he'll think about it for a second, and then he'll come up. Sometimes it's slower than others, so you can also tip Hermy. This is the other part of Hermit motif that I loved, was that people would put some coin in his hand
Nice.
or for his counsel and his services. And so this is a way to tip him. He calls coins mashuganas.
Nice.
So you can ask him how to tip him. Hello, hello. It's a pleasure to meet you. What wonders of Henry Cameron Allen's magical world are you interested in exploring today? Perhaps the enchanting tales of the Folklore Theater Company, or maybe the profound wisdom shared on the Lost Traveler podcast. I also podcast here in GoBrunch. Or if you're feeling a bit adventurous, the virtual gardens crafted with a sprinkle of magic. Let me guide you. So, Marissa, what would you like to hear from Hermy? It could be random. It could be specific.
I wanna hear about the theater company. I wanna know what he wants to tell us.
Okay, tell me about the theater. We'll just keep it basic like that.
Sure.
And just like you would use any AI, be mindful of your prompts, right? And be open to, going deeper. If an answer doesn't feel quite right,
Yep.
then, rethink the prompt. But it's hopefully very conversational. And we did program him with a personality. He says,
Nice.
theater, where would I begin? The Folklore Theater Company is a magical place nestled between the realms of reality and imagination, where diverse cultural narratives come together to create a shared human tapestry. It's like having a borscht with a dash of paprika filled with the rich flavors of global stories. The delightful company stands at the crossroads of the past, present, and future, reimagining folklore through experimental theater. It's a place where the liminal, well, it says luminal, but it's liminal, spaces between the perceptible and unseen worlds are illuminated, and where untold stories and works from marginalized groups come alive on stage. Such a place. The Folklore Theater Company is shepherded by Folklore LLC and is committed to inclusion and diversity in all their programming and operations. Their performances are accessible, embracing diversity across ethnicity, culture, economic status, and more. It's truly inclusive space where everyone has a voice. Such a joy. Would you be interested in the audio series, The Lore, or perhaps exploring their charitable projects? Or maybe you'd like to meet the folk heart, the folks who make the magic happen. There's so much to explore, right?
A lot of direction in there. So why don't you show us before we go on here how if somebody wants to give a tip? That's great. Can I give you a tip? Let's see what it says.
Okay, how do I give you a tip? And by the way, these tips do come to me, and I use them for philanthropic purposes. One of my passions in life is philanthropy. And it's not just about money, but it's about elevating marginalized voices, giving them a platform to otherwise, in ways that they wouldn't normally be able to promote who they are, what they're trying to do. For the last couple of years, I've been mentoring a small organization in Uganda, for instance, that has adopted 33 children from the slums, from the streets. These are compromised, vulnerable kids, and many of them orphaned. And so I work with them. So a lot of these tips and funds go to charity. There's my
You got the little PayPal tip jar in there.
So here's his answer. So generous of you to ask. If you'd like to leave a tip, you can contribute to the Mashugana jar via PayPal. Just follow this link, PayPal tip jar. Remember, money is like manure. It should be spread around the lands, encouraging growth. Thank you, 1,000 times thank you. Now, anything else you'd like to explore, discover. So he gives you the link to the Mashugana tip jar, which you click and you go right there, right?
Perfect.
So even if I'm not here, okay, say, how do I meet Henry Cameron? And what he'll do is he will send you to my booking calendar so that you can set up a time that works for you and works for me, no matter what time zone you're in or what part of the world that you're in. I'm in Spain, and a lot of my colleagues are 9 hours behind me or 9 hours ahead of me. And so by attaching my booking calendar here through Hermy, you can set up a time. You'd like to meet the mensch himself, Henry Cameron Allen. What a treat it would be. You can schedule a heart-to-heart conversation with him by visiting his calendar link. Book a meeting with Henry Cameron Allen. He's quite the storyteller and a lovely conversationalist, too. Anything else I can do for you, Bubala? Yeah, I'm Jewish
Did
and
you
I have a Yiddish, you know.
Yeah, I was wondering about this, like, did you write that, or did you give him, like, a Jewish kind of
Well, I wanted him to represent who I am and my Jewish culture, my cultural background. I have both. I have Jewish and non-Jewish, but according to 23andMe, I am like 86% Ashkenazi Jew. It definitely informs my sense of humor, certain qualities, and for me, it's a wonderful whimsical. Did you ever see The Princess Bride?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Miracle Max?
Yeah.
It's that kind of a thing. It gives him a sort of lightness of being a bubbly kind of personality and character.
Yeah.
And so I programmed the bot to have that same kind of a quality. But I didn't write any of this. He's
That's his personality that he's coming out in.
and
Cool.
I linked him to all of my different websites so that whatever information is available there, he can interpret through his filter.
Cool. All right, well, let's check out some of these other spaces here using your links
Okay.
here at the top, your Easter eggs.
Yes. So why don't we go to the new Folklore Theater Company?
Wow.
Wow is right. It's kind of a special place. I wanted to give it a sort of, again, a whimsical, international kind of feel, sort of a timeless thing. But, for me, 2025 is the year of reconnecting to our inner child. And we need to reconnect with a sense of play, a sense of lightness of being, but also tap into our childlike curiosity about each
Mhm.
other, about the world, about history, and all of that. So I wanted this landing page to sort of be reminiscent of a pop-up book. Like, who didn't like a pop-up book when we were kids? And
Like a pop-up book now.
yes, right? But that's what I mean. We can go out and get pop-up books even as adults, and there are
Yeah,
adult pop there
let's
are
look at some of the features in here. I wanna make sure we get all this in here. So we have
absolute.
guidelines. When you click on that, does it pop up a different image?
Yes, I think
Mhm.
it's really important that as we are becoming more known in GoBrunch, I mean, that those of us who are in here, that we have these spaces, that we are responsible for making them safe. And so when you click guidelines there, this is our manifesto really about creating a welcoming space, fostering an environment of mutual understanding and positive engagement, zero tolerance for hate speech, intolerance or rudeness, whether blatant or implied. So we hold that as sacred. And if and I'm quick to remove somebody. I haven't had that experience yet, knock wood. But if somebody gets removed from a space, blocked or banned, they can
Yeah,
always contact me and say, "Hey, what was that about?" And I'm happy to have a conversation. I think it's also important to have, because many of us are hosting events that are recorded
yeah,
or events that have a paywall, that we have a statement about recording meetings. We want to be transparent, but we also value and respect participant privacy. We may record them for things like training, quality assurance, and record keeping,
yeah.
and that we are above board and we're in compliance with the laws of the land. And
Absolutely.
so,
One thing I just wanna point out about this, just for everybody watching, if you're looking at kind of using something. So how to do this is what we did was Hermy put in a little guidelines image in there, and then he actually put another image over top of it. So we're thinking about GoBrunch in terms of a layer cake style. So there's an image on top of there that he's then made invisible, and we will probably go into that in future episodes of how that's possible.
yeah,
One thing I will just remind people, and I wanna make sure that we tend to build for visual and sightseeing, and unfortunately when you click on that you would not be able to hear that unless you had put in the alt description of that image those content pieces. So I just always want to make sure that people, when they're thinking about building this might be a good idea. But if you do anyone that does have any sight impairment, and even that was a lot of text in a very, me, I am visually impaired.
yeah,
I do wear visual aids to help me with that. But something like that, when we think about design, we also might think of like, okay, we're going to put a link or something in here, or make sure that the bot has, if you want to read the other guidelines in full, click here. Those are just some design things we want to start thinking about. We are limited in terms of what we can do for full accessibility, but there's some things that we can start to do to bring more accessibility in, so that our spaces are a little bit more inclusive or welcoming for folks that might have different disabilities.
Mindful, exactly. And that's a great point. And I think what I will do for the guidelines, because it is a lot of text, I could have a downloadable PDF option
You got
for people to download it and put it through their, whatever they do to enlarge. The other thing too is that my experience has been that GoBrunch works best on a device that's not a mobile phone. You get the best experience visually, certainly, but also, there's a bit of a learning curve for people who are new into GoBrunch. They won't always know to turn your phone horizontally so that you
right.
can see the background image. Otherwise, it's audio only. But
Yeah,
if you're on a laptop or a tablet, like we are here, when you click this, you can always increase I don't know if you can see what I'm doing,
absolutely.
right? You can increase and decrease, zoom in with your cursor to see those smaller details. When I do have smaller details, like over here, you see on the left, that's the
Yeah.
debate box cinema. Again, you can, whoops, I didn't mean to do that.
Our way to the Bait Box Cinema now.
Hey, no, we're back. Again, you can zoom in this way. And then for what's showing coming up tomorrow, you can click on that and you'll have a larger version. I did the same thing there as I did with the guidelines. I just laid on top. And if you want to go into the Bait Box Cinema, you see there's the sparkles on the doors.
Yeah, so that's how we know to go in.
Yep. Now this chatbot over here, Theater Hermy, is specifically about the new Folklore theater company.
Okay.
Right? Where the other one is more generalized, this one is specifically about the theater, because the theater is its own world. And I didn't want to, be too confusing. So, but the same thing with the sparkles, that's basically my navigation button. So if you click here on the sparkles of the door of the cinema, you go into the cinema. And this is the Bait Box Cinema. Again, I love immersive spaces. I love attention to detail. I founded the Folklore Theater Company in 2011 as a brick and mortar theater in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And so I wanted to pay homage to Gloucester, to the brick and mortar theater. And we did in 7 years, we produced over 40 original productions, all based
Wow.
on local folklore. And one of those stories it took place in the Bait Box Cinema. So I wanted to pay homage to that show, which we have screened here actually, and also, bring in this sort of dusty old 1920s or 30s theater. Somebody hasn't vacuumed, and
Yeah.
don't do the white glove test here. But every
Right.
Saturday we meet here and we screen a film, and then we have a talk back afterwards. And we have specialists in the audience who may want to say something specific, or if we're adding a lecture to it, they can come up here on the stage and give a presentation. That's how many seats there are. You have a
Very cool.
person sitting in each chair, right? Which is kind of fun.
So we've made these seats invisible here. And I just want to point out, so when you hover over with your mouse, you can see that the icon changes on the mouse, and that's where you know where you can go, and then you can click and then
That's
change your
right.
seat.
You have the cursor there, and then when there's something clickable, it will turn into a pointing glove.
Yeah. And then you've got an embeddable YouTube video here so people can watch it. Now, just a reminder, if you haven't seen these before, this is person specific when you do embed something like this. So if I came into this room and you were already watching it, it's okay, because I'll come in and it'll be ready for me to start whenever I'm in. So it's one of those things to think about if you are watching it together, is that everyone sort of clicks on the same time. It's like everybody, okay, 1, 2, 3, click. Unless you're sharing it. If you're sharing it in a live, we've been watching documentaries. And so one of us just shares it and then we're all watching it at the same time. So it's just one thing to think about from a feature, but it allows the person to pause it if they need to go to the bathroom. They can come back. So it allows people to really have their own control over what they're consuming. And then, of course, I think YouTube has the sound. You can actually control the sound in the YouTube versus your system sound, which can be very helpful for various reasons. And then you've got some images around here that you can click on. I imagine they get bigger.
Yep, those are actual productions that we did in the past. And so when you click on them, you can see these were actual live theater productions that we did in Gloucester when we were.
Very cool.
So I just wanted to, again, hold space for the origins of what I've created here, which I could never have done in Gloucester or anywhere.
Right.
I want to show you the rest of the theater. Let me see.
You have a little Easter egg there in the bottom corner too.
Yep, and that'll always take you back to
Main
the
room. Yeah.
space. But you can also, I think my preferred way, I don't know why it's not working right now, but let me try refreshing the page.
All rooms tab doesn't want an all room.
Yeah, it wasn't opening. There it is. So these are all the different rooms of the Folklore Theater Company, right? So here's the Bay Cinema here. Here's the landing page. We have the Little Theater, which is a smaller theater space, either for auditions or smaller productions, maybe children's theater, storytelling, music concerts, things like that, where it doesn't require a big space for a large audience. Here we have Folk U, which is our educational wing, and it is for master classes, workshops, and such. The Folk Art
Yeah.
Forest is kind of a wonderful whimsical place, which is actually not a public space in the theater. We use that for our weekly administrative meetings. So rather,
Do you have it locked then?
no, I don't, because I want people to have access to them,
Sure.
but I do lock it when we are in a meeting.
In session. Yep.
Yeah, and you can see it's very animated, and we sit around. Isn't this better than a conference room?
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
And you got
And one thing I just want to show is that I noticed that you did hit your microphone off so that you didn't get that double feedback.
Yep.
But what you have done is you've enabled the microphone to be on when you come into this room, which kind of makes sense because you're in here specifically for a meeting and then everybody doesn't have to kind of shuffle to turn on their mic and then one person's got their mic off. And we do have the opportunity. So I made Henry Cameron to actually put on his cam when he goes in these rooms so that we can see him talking because I've made the screen big. But people have the option to have their camera turned off, which can be really nice too for some of us who don't wear pants and are still in a meeting. And then you can have your audio on. Now, just because he has set this space as being your cam or your microphone is automatically turned on, you saw that when he came in, he had the option of turning his microphone off. So people do still have that ability. We can't make them always have their mics on, but we could turn somebody's mic on too for them. There is some controls in there that allow us to do that. And the moderators have access to those tools. Not everybody does. So this menu bar that you're seeing down here is specific to the owner of the rooms or a moderator. And you'll see that there's some additional features. And if you are just an attendee, it's a smaller menu. And also, if you don't have features in this room enabled, so for example, the circle cam, if you don't want people to have their circle cam or their big cam, it actually won't show in the menu. So people don't even know that they're missing out on that. And you're demonstrating this is a fantastic, the big cam. And again, everything is person specific. So he can move it around. He can make it bigger. There's so much opportunity here where you can really, again, oh, wow, right in with the emotion, which can be interesting in terms of things like sharing theater or sharing, because then you can actually really get in and experience things. I can see, going forward, we'll see more theater groups coming in here. And then there might be a set behind, right? Like you actually could see that person and there might be details that the audience can make bigger and look at and observe and be part of that experience. Whereas you don't always have the opportunity to do that in live theater because things are moving or you're trying to focus on all the characters. So there's some really cool opportunities here from a visual aspect of engagement that we can do in GoBrunch that, like you said, we can't do in live theater.
Yeah. There are little tiny details like a lizard crawling around on the rock over there.
Oh yeah, I see him.
That I want. You can see something in your periphery, but I want your eye to bounce around the space. And again, if you want to see it up close, what it looks like, you just click on it.
Nice.
Same with the candle in the lantern, right? It makes it more immersive. You may have noticed this black and white dog in a lot of my spaces. His is Animo, and he is my service dog. And he accompanies me everywhere in the real world. So I figured, might as well bring him into GoBrunch as well.
Absolutely.
And it's a teachable moment. People can learn about what it means to have a service dog. Why he's always barking at 6:00, because all the dogs in my tiny village start barking at this time to say, I go to have dinner, everybody. I mean, it's
Oh, wow, they've got it
They
together.
do.
They have a union, and they are demanding their rights. Yeah, and I mean, these are interesting, like, the fire is great. You've done a really great job of placing that in there. Those are just animated GIFs that we can put in here and place.
Right.
And I do find, as someone with ADHD, I tend to, like, really zone out, and it allows me to actually focus on what's happening in the room because I just let myself focus on the movement of the fire. And so sometimes these things that we put in the rooms are really great for connection and communication, which I appreciate.
Thank you. And there's a real deliberate reason that I'm including these little features, even the little candle flame. There's
Yep.
something about creating a calming space as well, a place that's not frenetic and yet it's got movement, it's got warmth. I can show you, let me find it here. I'm gonna have to turn on my mic here.
Oh, okay.
I have to adjust the volume on my end. But do you hear the fire?
I do.
So that adds another layer to the space. And because I'm doing it through my microphone through Spotify, I can adjust the sound level. Now, it's going to sound different to you than it does to me. It sounds louder on your end than it does on mine. And so, I know basically that about right here, it's loud enough that you can hear it, that you can almost feel the warmth from the fire, but
Yes.
it's still low enough that you can have a conversation without talking over the sound effect.
Yes.
Right? I have a number of
Yeah.
spaces that are by the sea, and so I have just a subtle background waves of the ocean playing as well, and that's another way to bring that immersive quality that has a calming. Sometimes I'll use sound effects that have a solfeggio frequency that is deliberately a frequency that activates calming in a person. So that adds to the quality of my design work too. I incorporate that in the designs I do for clients as well.
That's cool. So, and because you're doing that sound on your end, it's a little bit of radio theater coming in, radio plays coming
Yeah.
in. So that's cool. I like bringing that back.
Yeah, it's been a big inspiration of mine since I was a kid. My dad used to have cassette tapes of old radio shows and I
Oh,
love them.
fantastic.
The audio theater series that I do was inspired by the actor Danny Kaye, who back in the
Mhm.
50s and 60s, he would do LP records, storytelling records of, say, Grimm's fairy tales or stories, folklore world. And they were all layered with sound effects and atmosphere and music underscoring. We also work with contemporary musicians to compose original music to underscore our plays, and so,
Cool.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. So if you click the little theater model here down at the bottom, that will take you to the green room, always. That's the central space in a theater where the actors and the public meet together. I'm gonna have to fix that because for some reason, I don't know if there's a glitch, but when I go there, it doesn't take you to the thing. So I'm just going to go right through the front door, and that's worked. And the green room is also a stacked room, which I love because again, it gives you a playfulness and a control over the space that you wouldn't have otherwise. Here I am behind the bar, so if you want to
Yes,
serve
you
you
are.
up a drink, just let me know. Again, I've got the fireplace feature. I've got the sparkly lights over the bar. Again, it gives
Which is not a door, right?
what the
The sparkly lights.
they're not a door. Those sparkly lights are not a door, but I do have doors in this space. If you take the elevator up, you can see it's a pretty ornate space. When you go
Yeah.
up into, oh, and I should say that when you have a stacked space, it's really important to put some kind of a border between the
Right.
images. I love this sort of cutaway architectural old building quality, that just sort of it's a slice. And then you go up into the attic space, which is an old props and costume space. And this is actually a theater space. So if I were hosting a storytelling evening, for instance, or spoken word poetry, I would stand here at the mic. The audience would sit over here on the stairs. And again, wherever you see the cursor turn into a finger, I don't know where the other one was that I put in there, but then that's a place that you can click. And in this case, you can sit,
Yeah.
right? And so here's another performance space that you can use. If you go through the curtain, excuse me.
And I just want to remind people that a stacked room is still one room. And so the sound will carry. So if I'm down by the fire, I will still hear the spoken word up
Yeah,
here, and that just because we have, some people will ask if there's localized sound, but it is the entire room that will hear
that's
you.
right. And I leverage that. The next space I'm going to show you after this stacked space, because if you take the elevator down to the basement level, you have
Oh my goodness.
our hookah womb, I call it. Kind of
Oh,
looks like a
nice.
womb, but
Oh
it's
my
a
god.
cool
Hookah lounge,
it's a
just
lounge space. It's another calming room. It's another co-working space where you can sit around with people and hatch collaborations, hatch ideas, right? And I love creating this variety. If you go into our main stage space, which is here.
Henry Cameron, we're never doing a podcast at 6 o'clock again, your time. We'll always
No,
plan around the
apologize
dog.
for that. This is our main stage, and I haven't made these seats invisible yet because we haven't produced in here yet. But the actors can
Yep.
move from one side of the stage to the next. You can choreograph that. And then I think I've got about 60 or 70 seats already in this space. When they're invisible, you'll just go and find your spot. But even if you're
Yeah.
way up here in the nosebleed section, up here at the top of the theater, which is kind of beautiful in its own right, there's not a
Yeah.
bad seat in the house because all you do is scroll your screen down and you can see what's on the stage. And if there's something happening that you want to see a little more closely, just zoom in,
Yeah,
right?
I can see theater groups using spaces like this to do, read-throughs
Yeah.
even, and it's such a great opportunity to build anticipation. Even if you're doing it in conjunction with in-person
Yeah.
theater, you can start doing some lead up and marketing where maybe you're doing your practices, your auditions, and people can come in and get a little sneak peek of it.
Absolutely. This is actually one of our artist spaces where we do readings of our plays that are works of progress.
Nice.
And so,
Little table reading there,
actors
yeah.
need hydration and carbs. And so there you have it
Yeah,
on the table.
provided a
It's
lot
also an
there.
interesting space to occupy. It's got history, it's got a feeling of mystique and mood to it. And so again, it's a wonderful place to sit with your artists and it's more intimate than a theater. But say we were going
Mhm.
to do auditions or as you say, do a staged reading on this.
On your Spotify,
Oh yeah.
sorry?
No,
Maybe we'll just have that. We're just getting a little bit of
yeah.
feedback.
Here's the little theater.
Cool.
Right? And
Beautiful.
so if I'm having an audition and the actor is, on the stage here as the director, I could be sitting in the seats watching up on the
Mhm.
stage, right?
Yeah.
That's another beautiful way to use the space. You're right. I have our listening lounge as well, which I wanted to show you. It's another one of these calming spaces. It's a co-working space and a place to listen, either to each
Mhm.
other, have quiet conversations, or maybe listen to one of the stories in the lore series, right? Have a listening party. But again, it's another sort of hidden back room of a theater, of an old theater, and a space that I would love to occupy. One of the things I should say about GoBrunch that's my favorite thing about it is that, and not only as somebody who uses them for my work, but also as an artist, and a designer, these spaces are an invitation into your imagination.
Right.
And that's a very intimate and sacred act to me. I don't want to let everybody into my imagination. But when they come to participate in any of the work that I'm doing or any of the events that I'm hosting, I want them to feel like they are entering my mind as a curator, as an artist, as a designer, and as a host. I want this to feel like you're coming into my space. And so it's got to reflect who I am. That's one of the arguments I have about getting your own world building skills developed or hiring a world builder to help you work with you to evoke whatever is in your imagination for the spaces you want to create. Yeah.
Cool. Any other spaces you want to share with us before we wrap it up today?
Yes. Let's go to this one. This is the Lost Travelers Club. And this is my foundation that is for peregrines, for parents who have outlived their kids. I wanted this landing place. And this is one of the spaces where we have virtual retreats, where we sit and we talk about real things in an environment and an atmosphere that is outside of perhaps your normal environment. It tricks your mind. There's air, there's open space, there's a sense of whimsy about it. I love the connection of architecture and nature, right? You noticed, for instance, in the Folk U room, the trees were inside the room, right? This is the same kind of a thing. I bring that And as a designer, I bring those qualities across my spaces. I love candles. I love fire. I love, all the elements. You have water, fire, air, all and earth, right? All here in front of you, right? If you are traveling through my spaces, say you go into the Virtual Hermit Hut and you're starting to click around things, and say you want to know more about the Lost Travelers Club. Well, all you have to do is scroll down, and here is the website, right?
Nice.
And so everything that we're doing as an organization, if you want to make a donation, here's the Peregrine Manifesto. Here are all the different things and services that we're doing here, in GoBrunch, but also outside of GoBrunch, ways to volunteer. And then we have our blog. It's all right here in my
Yeah, I like
GoBrunch
that.
space. And yet it's also a functional room.
Yeah, I love this. This is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. That's the way I decided to bring my websites into GoBrunch. And Animo loves it.
I love
Yeah.
it. And then you've got some arrows up there where you can go to
Yeah,
different
this is
rooms.
this is actually a space that I call the Peregrine Lodge, and it is a private space. But again, I keep it open unless we're in session. And this is one of the spaces I told you that's over the ocean that I add a subtle ocean background that gives it a different, and you can see the waves here. The water's actually kind of moving a little bit. Very subtle
Okay, yeah.
things. I try to put my Virtual Hermit Designs icon in there, which is also clickable to go back and find out how can I have a space like this? How can I make a space like
Nice.
this? Or how can I hire Hermy to create a space? And there's Animo. So yeah, my counseling page as well for people who are looking for therapy, counseling online, something easy, men's health, a little bit about me, how to book your appointment, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all accessible here from the Virtual Hermit Hut. So come visit
Very
me
cool.
and come hang out in the hut.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for giving us this intense and very descriptive tour of your spaces. I am definitely excited to see what else you are creating because I have a feeling you will just keep creating.
Um,
You're going to be one of those go-brunchers that is addicted to making rooms, which you have channeled into making an income for
yep,
yourself, which I think is
thank
brilliant. And absolutely, if we'll include all of the links below when we republish this. But if you have any questions, wherever you're watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you're watching this, if you do have questions, post below and we'll get back to you. GoBrunch is an excellent opportunity for create community. And we've just seen two, incredible examples where we're talking about grief and connection through grief, and of course, connection through theater
yeah.
and performance. And this is that gives you an kind of two sides of things that are happening and a really great opportunity to really customize the space and bring people together that maybe around the world. You were saying Papua New Guinea
All
from,
over the world. And we're in the midst of a global mental health crisis. And so that
yeah,
underlies every aspect of my work, whether it's my art, whether it's my mental health work as a counselor, or whether it's my philanthropic work. It all has a foundation in mental health and in universal life skills education, which is sort of my overarching life purpose. There are skills that we are, all of us, learning. All 8+ billion on the planet are learning and applying every day, but we're not proficient in everything. Indeed, we're proficient in very little these days, and our parents were as well. And so how do we ramp up our proficiencies? And so there's that quality to all of this work too. So if you're interested in mental health through philanthropy, through support, or whether you're interested in developing your own life skills. How do I meet our time? How do I navigate these crazy times? Come and meet with me. Come sit in the hut. We'll have a conversation. And whether it's paid or whether it's just making a new friend, it's all there. It's all possible here.
amazing. Thank you again. I'm so excited to see what else you're building. And if you're watching this, please do subscribe to the channel that you're watching this on. We are going to be having even more. This afternoon, I actually have Claudia, who is a bit of a bruncher
Pleasure.
legend, and I can't wait to see his rooms that
Lucky
he's going to
you.
show us. But we, yes, but we have so many more coming up. The Go Brunchers are building fantastic experiences and fantastic rooms, and we can't wait to show you. So thank you for tuning in. And thank you, Henry Cameron Allen. I could tell that you were in theater as soon as I saw that name. I'm like, that's a
Oh,
theater name. Like you're like obligated to be in theater. I think with a name like Henry Cameron Allen, like it's one of those requirement things, right? Fantastic. Thanks for being here with me, and everybody else. We'll see you
bye. Thanks
soon.
for having me.